we're having a small technical difficulty. I feel like this may be trying to pick up on the wrong mic. So
you know what? We're going to restart this. No, we can't restart it. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me just double check and make sure we actually have sound, because apparently my devices are wonky. As you come in, do me a favor, say hello. Let me know. Can you hear me? Dr. Sam, thanks for coming on. Can you actually hear me? Because apparently this had wanted to go through my AirPod, but my AirPods are janky. So I was really trying to go through the computer. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you can actually hear me. So if you can hear me, let me know. But I guess the other thing is, if you can't hear me, I need you to let me know so that we can get this all fixed and I can make sure that you can actually hear me, because there's nothing. The last thing I want to do is be talking and you can't hear nothing. That would suck. So you're going to hear a little reverb because I'm going to turn on my phone to see if you know what? It looks like it's doing something wonky. I'm going to leave and come back because I think this is just, oh, wait, Dr. Sam says you can hear me. You can hear me. Yay. Thanks for being patient, y'all. Apparently, my electronics have a mind of their own. Dr. Sam can let me know if Mercury is in retrograde, because I feel like my electronics were acting like Mercury was in retrograde. But you know what? We made it all work. And I had to, because I need to come in here for you. So do me a favor, y'all, as you come in, let me know where you are watching from. That would just give me so much joy to know that as you all get in here. A couple of things to do is today we're talking about tales of burnout and staycation. So I'm so excited to share with you part of my journey and some tips along with those from all of my years of experience in human behavior. I want to tell you a couple of quick things. Quick things. First thing is, can you do me a favor? And if you know someone that needs to hear this, share it. Sharing is caring. The second thing is, if you know someone that needs us, tag them. Just tag them in. We might as well have a little crew in here hanging out. The next thing is, if you're watching it later, don't even worry about it. It is all good. Put hashtag replay in the comments. I'm just happy to know you came. It looks like we got somebody coming from Milford. And I'm not the only one with electronics with an attitude. I guess we can rename our crew EWA, Electronics with Attitude. But if you don't know me, you should. But if you don't, I am Dr. Ericka. I am a Harvard-trained, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I'm so passionate about helping people be better, do better, and live better. I do that through my adult telepsychiatry, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, my speaking, and my podcast, Better with Dr. Ericka. I do all of that to help busy people like you that give and give and give, and you show up for work, you show up for your friends, you show up for your family, you show up for your community, and you probably don't show up so much for yourself. Or you even look around and you're like, I'm showing up for all these people. Where are the folks showing up for me? I do all that to help put you back into your life, to put the control back in your seat, and also to put you back in there and make some space for you. So I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to actually share something a little personal with you today. So let's go ahead and get to it, because I'm not having you here forever. And I realized we had a little technical difficulty. So we had a little bit of a slow start, but we're going to make up for the slow start right now. How's that sound? Okay. So we're going to talk about two things. We're talking about burnout and staycation. So you may have heard, if you've been tuning in, and you may not have tuned in. This may be your first time with me, or you know how these algorithms work. Sometimes you're in the algorithm, sometimes you're not. You may just not have seen what I've been talking about lately. If you have not seen, I have recently been dealing with some burnout. The thing that was unique about it is it just kind of snuck up on me. And one of the reasons this is really important is there's so many people that are burned out right now. You want to know why folks are burned out? First thing is number one, we are in a pandemic. So there's still all of this pandemic related stress going on and you're working. The next is a lot of people have a lot of responsibilities on top of their work. Then you look at the fact that people have died, y'all. Over 700,000 people have died, and a lot of them were adults. So some of these are people that were in the workforce. So some people have more work because people at work died. The other thing is some people have quit or left or have had to do some other things. And in certain industries, work has gone, business has gone up. So when you're at work and there are less people, you have more work. So people have been burned out because of more work and then just balancing all of the things and all the stress of pandemic life. So it's not just frontline workers and healthcare workers and all the people that have been out there since the beginning of COVID dealing with this. When I talk to folks, almost everyone I know seems like they're either burned out or one pinky toe away from it. It's very common. And a lot of times with burnout, people focus on work burnout. So you may ask me, Dr. Ericka, is burnout just work? And there's a myth that burnout is specifically related to working career. But the truth of the matter is there are numerous kinds of burnout. And people also talk about caregiver burnout. So people that become burned out from caring from people, caring for their family usually. So there are numerous ways that you can get to this space of burnout. And the reason I want to talk to you about it today is number one, is so many people are struggling with it. And I want to use some real life examples of how you can move past that struggle into another season. Because it never feels good to be burned out. No one says feeling burnt out feels good. It's not something you hear. So we're talking about it because it's everywhere. And part of the reason I'm talking about it is because I have not only treated people with it, I've dealt with my own. So recently, as I was saying, it just kind of snuck up on me. I didn't know it was coming. Logic would have said I should have known it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming. You know, I was doing the busy life of an entrepreneur, plus doing some other contract work, just literally just doing all the things. You see me on the internet doing all of the things. And I was doing all the things to the point where it just got exhausting. And we've talked about it before. I am a true empath. So just dealing with the global energy of the world sometimes just gets a little bit overwhelming. So you got that and all of this stuff and feeling this need to do everything all the time led to pretty much working all the time. Now, you can let me know if you hear me, if you have felt this way, where you go and go and go and go. And the only time you really stop is when you're totally exhausted. Have you ever gone and gone and gone and then didn't stop until you were totally exhausted? Well, that was me. So that I'd go and go and go. And then the only time I'd stop, it felt like I was getting rest because I'd literally stop and would just be a bum on log for a day or two. But one of the things I realized is it was never actually restorative. And what I noticed, and one of the reasons I was able to identify in myself that I was starting to feel burned out, is I have generally a very high level of empathy. So there's space for me. If my empathy even drops to here, it's more than a lot of people. But I could just tell that some things just were hitting different, that people could cry and it just didn't. I didn't feel it in my soul the same type of way. So that, along with the fact that I just never could stop feeling exhausted. I felt exhausted all the time. There was a period of time where I could never identify a time for you when I didn't feel exhausted. And I started realizing that there are two narratives for my life. And we've also talked on here about me having a therapist, is that out of all of that, it became two words, literally explained everything going on in my life. And these are two words I personally didn't want to be the descriptors of my life. And I don't want those to be the descriptors for you. You want to know those two words? Let me know. You want to know those two words? One was busy. How you doing, Dr. Ericka? Busy. What you doing? I'm busy. Everything was busy. The number two word was exhaustion. How are you feeling? Exhausted. How much energy you have? I'm exhausted. What's going on today? I'm exhausted. So those two words became the narrative of where I was exhausted and busy. And I realized that's not how I want to describe my life. That's not what I want. And that's not what I want for you, because if you feel like all you are is busy, most of the time we aren't explaining busy in the context of busy doing things we really want to do. It's busy with just stuff. And one of the reasons we talk about putting you back in your life is there needs to be space for you, physical space, emotional space, all this space for you. If you're busy, 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 there's no space for you. So those are some of the things I really noticed that helped me finally wake up and realize, okay, you're a bit burned out. Because one of the reasons it's hard to identify is most of us, I know a lot of you out there, is you're taught to keep pushing and moving and moving. So you just kind of push through and you move through. And it just gets to a point where it just gets really hard to do that. So part of the reason I want to talk about this is, so just to put it on your radar so that you can kind of check in with yourself and say, self, how am I doing? Self, how's my energy? Self, how's my empathy? Self, how's my concentration and focus? Self, am I doing anything for myself, or is everything just being busy? So that you can catch these things a little earlier, which makes it easier to fix it. So you might be like, Dr. Ericka, what did you do once you realized you were burned out? Okay, don't go anywhere. Here we go. Here we go. Don't go anywhere. What I did is I had to put together a plan. Yes, I said it. I put together a plan. Part of the reason I'm a big fan of plans, not necessarily to, just make everything exhausting, but some of it's the intentionality of it versus the actual logistics of a plan is being intentional. And I had to start becoming intentional about healing and recovering. And that's the thing I want to tell you is if you're starting to deal with burnout or you're already in the throes of burnout, is no one really accidentally gets out of burnout. It's hard to accidentally just magically not be burned out. So I want to just have a moment and say it's important to be intentional. And that's why I had a burnout recovery plan. So I put together a plan. I put together an entire team. So my burnout recovery plan really is this team of people that I work with to pour back into me. One of the reasons I have these people is, number one, I need people to hold space for me. And one of the things I bet all of you notice is right now everyone's struggling. So your best friend, your good friend, your peeps, they may not have room to hold a lot of space. So I put together a group of people that could hold space for me and help guide me through figuring out what was going to restore me and also to physically do things to restore me. So you want to know who's in my burnout recovery team? Because you may have heard it if you listened to the Dr. Jared episode of my podcast, is I have a therapist. So I see a psychologist. I have a chiropractor. I have an acupuncturist. I have a massage therapist, and I have an energy worker. And I also, part of my self-care is facials. See the skin? So I put together an entire team that the only goal for them is to restore me. And that's one thing I want to encourage you. If you're dealing with burnout, is to start identifying who can pour into you. Because it's hard once you feel exhausted and you're just drained. You need something to charge your battery. And you need some people that are dedicated to charging your battery. And one of the things I noticed, and we talked about exhaustion, and now we're going to finally get to the staycation, is I knew I needed some space and some time. So I planned a staycation. So I did it ends up being like 3.5 days at a live, work, play area on the other side of town. The reason I picked the other side of town was so that I'd be somewhere where I wouldn't be tempted to run errands and to do all the things. I need to be somewhere outside of my neighborhood, and I need to be out of my house, because for me, when I'm in the house, it's hard for me to totally rest because I'm a mother's child. I'm always thinking about housework, or I'm thinking about what I should be doing, or my computer, or the dust on the floor, just all the things. And I needed some space to not be thinking about all of those things. So for me, one of the key things for a staycation was that I couldn't staycation at my house. I needed to go somewhere. But I knew I didn't feel like really traveling, so I just picked the other side of town. And I went and stayed at a hotel. It was glorious. Didn't drive my car until I was ready to leave. I would walk to restaurants. I did some shopping. I bought some items to do spa treatments on myself. It was just wonderful. And I literally just did things because I wanted to do them. And I stayed open and listened to my heart and my personal emotional barometer. If I started to feel anxious, I would just back off of whatever was making me feel anxious, or would just kind of cognitively think of what, had an issue with my key, and I started thinking about the key and it made me exhausted. And I decided we're not going to come out of staycation for this. We're going to just deal with this key after staycation. but it was protecting my space and my time, and it just being time devoted to me and what I wanted to do, and space only for me. This was all about me. It wasn't about talking to the whole world. It was about me. And for me, I want to share one specific thing about the staycation, and then we'll start wrapping up to get you out of here because I don't want you here all night. And you hung in here with me when my tech was janky. Is that one thing is you need to know what your staycation is for, because that's going to help you plan what's going to be the best staycation for you. Are you going on staycation to hang out with your boo? You going on staycation to do a family trip? You going on staycation to have friends, fun with your girls? You going on staycation to rest? What are you doing it for? So that you can plan an experience that's going to actually fulfill what you need. Because naturally, if you need rest, you don't want to have a huge itinerary or to be dealing with a bunch of people. You need to be able to turn down. So I want you to think about what you want to do with your staycation while you're doing it. And the next thing for me, something that was super key, and then we're going to get you out of here, is that I actually realized I needed to do the work before I did staycation so that I could do staycation and not be thinking about all the things. What made it so glorious and restorative is I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about my huge task list. I wasn't thinking about putting together podcast episodes. I wasn't thinking about what I was going to do with my patients. I wasn't thinking about any of this. This staycation was all about me. And that's why I think it's important for you to do the work, is so that when you actually rest, you get to rest. Your mind's not running thinking about all these things to stress out about, or all of these things that you wish you would have done, all these things you want to do, all these things on your list of things to do. You're not thinking about that, because that is not rest. So for me, it was important to actually do the work so that when I got the space, I could actually really rest. And I want to encourage you. I really think it takes practice to unapologetically rest. And I want you all to be able to unapologetically rest. So that's what I got for you today. I wanted to just talk to you about my burnout and my staycation, because I think there are some tips in the midst of there. I hope it was very helpful for you. I really appreciate you tuning in. Again, if you know someone that needs this, please tag them. Or you can share. And the other things, if you're watching it later, just put hashtag replay in the comments. I appreciate you coming up. I appreciate you choosing to spend time with me. I'm excited to always be here on Tuesdays for Growth Groove with Dr. Ericka. This is, I believe, the third week back after my break, my own self-care break. So I'm working on practicing everything I tell you, because I know you're probably like me. Sometimes you realize you told some people some really good stuff that you aren't actually doing. So my goal is to actually do it. So I've got a couple of updates for you, and then you are out of here. The first thing is I would love for you to check out the podcast. So if you want more Dr. Ericka when I'm not on, it's okay. You can find me here. I'm having issues with all my screens. The podcast is Better with Dr. Ericka. You can find it at betterthepodcast.com or on all your major podcast platforms. Remember, Ericka for my name is spelled Ericka. That way it comes out correctly. So Better with Dr. Ericka. The episode that dropped last week was around healthy eating with Dr. Monique May. The one this week is building resilience to be better. It features Jermaine Taylor. You're going to want to love it. He has a wonderful story, and we're able to talk about different ways to make it through challenges of adversity and ideally follow your dreams, even if other people just don't understand why or what you are doing. So it has lots of really good nuggets. I really hope you check it out. That episode released this morning. So, if you don't feel like binging video, or you're just kind of tweaking, because Growth Groove with Dr. Ericka comes on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, you can always go back and listen to the podcast. I would love it. And I would love to hear what you think. If you enjoy it, please follow or subscribe. And also rate and review. That just helps me bring more content to you. Again, this is Dr. Ericka, Harvard-trained, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission to help people be better, do better, and live better. I do that through my adult telepsychiatry, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, my speaking, and my podcast, Better with Dr. Ericka, that we just talked about, scrolling below us. Do all of that to help busy people like you that give and give and give, to actually put you back in your life, assist you with giving with yourself, or giving to yourself, because you deserve it. So thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you. I'll see you next week at 7. In the meantime, Feel free to check out the podcast. That's what I got for you. I want to send out lots of hugs, lots of loves to every single one of you. And make sure you do your usual prescription and homework. Call at least one person and tell them that you love them. I bet they'll appreciate it. That's what I got for you tonight. Take care. Bye.